Hello YouTube, this is Ophiuchus the Thunder Lizard, aka Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard, aka Michael William Denny. Alright, so it's down, man. We are gonna have the dance off of the century. Archives of Lilith, Dark Love has laid down the challenge, yo. And I've been served. So I gotta represent my peeps or something. Anyway, so I'm gonna be talking about looking at some of your thoughts and comments here on the channel. But before we get to that, I got to deal with my arch nemesis, Archives of Lilith, Dark Love, the most dangerous person to my channel that has ever existed. The heated battle between his brain and my brain, I mean, we're just going at it. We're trying to uncover the secrets of history and the universe. And he's calling me out, yo. He's decided that I am a danger to all of you, and he has made it his mission to be my nemesis, and he has revealed that he is only staying on this channel to protect all of you. And I want to know your thoughts on that. I'm going to reveal to you what he said and let you know that you have somebody, a very powerful Masonic Initiate, who is here to protect you and defend you from me, Ophiuchus, the reptilian master of snake energy, which you know, I am going to use deception. I am going to manipulate you. I am going to deceive you. And he believes that I'm doing that to keep you from the truth. He believes that I am unwilling to change. I am unwilling to learn. I am unwilling to grow. And he has decided to throw down the gauntlet. It's him and me, man. So I've decided to bring it to you and see what you think. And I'm going to give you an opportunity. I want you to go ahead and comment here on this video and let us both know what you think. Do you think that Archives of Lilith, Dark Love should be allowed to stay on the channel and protect you from me so that he can be there, that when I say something that's untrue or when I'm deceitful or when I'm lying to you, do you want him to be able to step in and say, hey, no, 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 YouTube viewers, you don't understand. He's lying to you. I, Dark Lilith Love, whatever his name is, am here to help you and defend you from all of his lies. Should he be allowed to do that? Or should I just go ahead and block him just because it's getting boring? I'm getting tired of this. It's just getting annoying. But maybe he's right. Maybe somebody who represents knowledge and truth and evolution needs to stand between me and you. You let me know. Let's find out what he has to say here. We got into an argument about the existence of Jesus because in my previous video, what was it called? Why is Jesus such an unconscious asshole? I talked about how Jesus didn't exist. And I have archaeological and historical proof to back that up. I won't go deeply into it, but namely, that number one, and this is Archives of Lilith Dark Love's issue here, there's no mention of Jesus in any of the historical records. The only mention that we have of Jesus is the Jesus of Nazareth narrative that we find in the Gospels, which you know of as the New Testament of the Bible. And nowhere else do we hear about a spiritual teacher, a Jewish spiritual teacher walking around Palestine during this time. And the only other mentions that you have during that era are from, I believe the only sources are from Josephus, which is, he was a Jewish Roman historian, something like that. And he was writing down things at that time in Jerusalem. And the only mention of anybody named Jesus were just random people, because Jesus was a very popular name. And it was popular because at that time there was a messianic cult religion among the Jews, and they believed that the Christ, or the Messiah actually, they believed that the Messiah was going to come and he was going to bring an army, and that army was going to overthrow the Romans. And so he would have been the Savior, which is Joshua, Jesus, Jehoshua, or whatever it is in Hebrew. And so people were naming their kids Jesus, just like if you walk around anywhere in Latin America, you find a lot of guys named Jesus. It was a very popular name. It doesn't mean anybody named Jesus is the second coming of Jesus. It just means that, parents wanted to they wanted the Savior to come, so they were naming their kids Jesus. That's why Jesus of Nazareth is named Jesus, because of all of that. Anyway, I talk about that in a bunch of other videos, and I make the assertion that Jesus could not have possibly existed, not only because there's no records of him, but because the town of Nazareth was not founded until at least 150 years after Jesus' supposed crucifixion. And so that means that it is impossible that there could have been at 33 AD a man named Jesus of Nazareth, because Nazareth didn't exist. Now, Archives of Lilith Dark Love wanted to first argue that Jesus was a Nazarite, wasn't raised in Nazareth. And I said, my friend, just look at the Gospels. It's very clear. Jesus of Nazareth was born in Bethlehem and raised in Nazareth. That's why he's called Jesus of Nazareth. And my toaster oven agrees. And he says, there are Roman records of the man. Also, he did exist. Somebody else jumps in and says, which records would that be? And then I jump in and I say, there are no records of Jesus. And I talk about, Josephus, and I talk about that. What happens now is that there is Christian propaganda used by Christian apologists who will say, no, we have proof that Jesus existed because Josephus, and they cite something where Josephus said, and the man Jesus, blah, blah, blah. But it's Christian propaganda. It's taken out of context because Christians know that there is no historical record talking about the man Jesus of Nazareth or any teacher named Jesus. It didn't exist. And then Archives of Lilith, because he doesn't listen and he's very reactive and very impatient, he says, that isn't true. The Romans kept records of everything. And I'm not a damn Christian, so I have no need to spread propaganda. He spells propaganda wrong. But, had he paid attention to what I said, I didn't say anything about him being a Christian. I was saying that that is Christian propaganda. And a lot of people cite it, but it's Christian propaganda going back, hundreds and hundreds of years. And then, so I tell him, look, if you're going to state that there are Roman records, you have to quote the Roman historian. I've already quoted Josephus. Josephus is, I'm quite sure who he thinks, or who he's talking about, whether he realizes it or not. But if you're going to say that there are Roman records proving that Jesus of Nazareth existed, then you have to quote the guy. Who was the Roman historian? Where can we look it up? Because if it is Roman history, we can look it up. We have access to it. And what's the passage? Quote the passage. Do some research and bring some evidence to provide your proof, right? So he goes on to say, his name wasn't exactly Jesus, and I can't speak much on Masonic records. So he just throws that in there. He doesn't say anything. He just throws in Masonic records, right? So you gotta clue us in. I know what you're talking about, but a lot of people won't. But again, the Archives of Lilith, his brain goes so fast he doesn't stop and think. That's why I say you got to take a breath. Let me just, before I go any further, Archives of Lilith, I seriously have nothing against you on a personal level. The truth is, if you bothered me, I would have blocked you a long time ago. What you don't seem to remember, and I will repeat myself again for at least the third time, and I want you to listen to this. I think that you have a destiny to be a spiritual teacher. I want to support you in being a spiritual teacher. You have strong beliefs and strong feelings. You should make videos. You should make videos about your beliefs. I think you should do that. Now, I'm not going to agree with probably 99% of everything you say, but it won't matter because I'm not going to go on your channel anyway. I don't go onto other people's channel and troll them. I just make videos for me, and I'm saying you should do the same. You should stop wasting your time trying to argue with me and have whatever personal beef you think that we have. I'm just playing around with you. The truth is, I could care less what you think. It doesn't matter to me one way or another. I'm doing this because actually it's good for my channel. When people give me a hard time, and you can see I get a lot of views when I have flame wars with people, but personally I could care less. And it's not anything against you. I honestly want nothing but the best for you. Now, you have said to me that you hate me 3 times. You call me a liar. You say I'm a deceiver, all these other things. And you're going to say here that I'm so dangerous that you need to stand between me and my viewers. And you even claim that they're all brainwashed. And you're going to defend them. But you're not going to remember what I just said. You're going to now try and defend yourself against this, what I just said. But before that, I said very clearly, you have a destiny to be a teacher. I don't know when that is. It might not be in this lifetime if you can't stop fighting with everybody. I had to do that. The reason why I made up this channel is because I got tired of being angry at what everybody else was saying. And I said, instead of trying to troll other people, I was just going to make my own channel and write my own books. I think you should do that. Anyway, let's hear more what he has to say. So he says, his name wasn't exactly Jesus, and I can't speak much on Masonic records. I will say that truth was hidden by the Skull and Bone Society. I mean, that's a great narrative, but you have to be able to prove it. And that the records I'm referring to are real. Well, you have to be able to prove that. Anybody can say anything. I believe that you think they're real. I just don't think that they are. I think that somebody has told you something and you've chosen to believe it, and I don't think they might even believe what they say, but I don't think it's accurate, because if it were, you'd be able to bring proof. It's that simple. The Skull and Bone Society, the order went by a different name back then, but Christ was a Mason. Well, there you go. Jesus Christ of Nazareth was a Mason. That's why there are so many Masonic messages in the Bible, as manipulated and rewritten as it is. Well, I don't buy that. You give yourself, and you're not the only person. You're just repeating what other people have said. And again, nothing wrong with that either. I also repeat what other people have said. That the Bible can't, that there's a true Bible and the Bible we have now is the wrong Bible. But that's just such a convenient argument when, you can't defend the actual text that you have. You say, well, this isn't the right one, and there must have been another one, and the true one, and then it just leaves you can just say whatever the hell you want, and then say things like, oh, you don't know and I do, which is kind of what you're doing. You don't know and I do, but if you're going to make public claims about something, you have to back it up, and you're just not doing that. And then he says that he learned from, as he said, from the Grand Master Mason who started me on this journey. Dude, the records are real and they are physical, but it's not like I can just hand them to you now, is it? Well, the Roman historians and the things that, whatever, even if there were Roman written records about Jesus, they wouldn't be locked away in some Masonic vault somewhere. They would be available. Historians would have access to them. I think this is, like there's some Masonic temple somewhere in Chicago or, wherever it is, Cincinnati, and they've got them locked up, the Roman records that proved, come on, man, give me a break. Even you don't believe that. So I say to him, listen, as I said, you're just repeating what somebody else said. You've got to be able to say which Roman historians stated, blah, blah, blah. He goes on to say, I'm repeating what I saw with my own damn eyes. When are you going to get out of your ego and stop projecting? You're old, but you don't know everything. Wow, I didn't realize I was old yet. I don't feel old, but all right. You're old, but you don't know everything. and you're not as wise as you think you are, just very judgmental and egotistical. A lot of the judgment that you pass on to other people actually should reflect back onto you. You're old, but you don't know anything. First, I didn't know everything. Now I don't know anything. And you're not as wise as you think you are, just very judgmental and egotistical. A lot of the judgment he does, I think he wrote the same thing twice. That you hate. Okay, so the things that you don't like about other people are actually things that you hate about yourself, but you don't hear yourself, do you? You don't look at yourself, do you? Aren't you tired of this? It's not me you're tired of, it's you. Pay attention, wake up. So I find that interesting because that's basically what I've been saying to you all along. So it almost sounds like you're taking what I've said to you and you're then going to turn it around and then repeat what you think I'm saying when it comes to projection. So I find that very interesting. I've been saying that about you the whole time, but alrighty. So I say, what did you see with your own eyes? An ancient Roman document. If I choose to believe you're telling the truth, I think you've been duped. And then I go on to say, dude, if I am so unwise and you have such little respect for me, I ask you, why the hell do you keep watching my videos? Why not just unsubscribe, watch another channel you respect? If you know so much more than I do, why aren't you making your own videos? Just stop wasting your time trying to correct me, seriously, and just make your own videos. I don't care what you think about me or my work. And I said, I am getting really bored with jousting with you all the time. And so he says, you're so arrogant. Everyone but your brainwashed students see through you. So, everybody, those of you who follow me and apparently like my work, apparently I have done my job well. Ophiuchus, the reptilian overlord snake master, I have done my job and I have brainwashed you. So now we find out. Archives of Lilith Dark Love is here to protect you from my evil brainwashing techniques. Keep brainwashing people and watch what happens. So now he's threatening me. I don't know if he's going to do something to me or if he's saying karma's going to get me. I don't know. I know that in your heart you can feel what I'm referring to. Nope, that's just indigestion. Nope. Keep brainwashing people and watch what happens. I know in your heart you can feel what I'm referring to. These lies will drag you down, and stop assuming shit. It's foolish. And then he says, now I don't know who gave this to him. It sounds like somebody who I probably blocked, who got either annoying. I do block people every now and then. Sometimes in the past I have blocked people just because I get annoyed by them. Because all they do is they just want to just constantly harass me, and I just get bored with it. But I will block somebody if they are abusive to other people, or if they, are inciting some kind of violence, or if they're racist. I will block people for that. So he says, this was given to me, and it describes our interactions, and everyone I've seen disagree with you, the way you treat them. And it looks like he cut and pasted something. It says 19 hours ago, edited at Archives of Lilith Dark Love. He will end up doing one of the following. I'm assuming that's me. 1, refer his own past videos. 2, start talking passively aggressively towards you. 3, block you and would call you racist or something. 4, cry about grammatical errors. 5, ignore your comments. 6, can't tell you because, quote, I will be breaking rules, unquote, laugh out loud. Just watch and tell me what he did. I can read him like a newspaper. 7, ask you, quote, who are you to ask, or, quote, show your proof first. And then at the bottom it says, bottom line, he won't provide any proof. And then Archives of Lilith Dark Love writes, sound familiar? Well, yes and no. I will do one of the following. 1, refer to his own past videos. Yes, I will do that. I do that all the time when people ask me questions and I can tell they haven't been on the channel very long, and I'm on one subject and I don't want to deviate and get into a deeper, tirade about some other subject. So I say, go to this video. I refer to my past videos all the time. I think that's a good thing. It means that I've actually made videos. I have what, over a thousand videos now, something like that, thousands of hours. Yeah, I'm going to refer to my past videos. That's not a problem. I don't see any problem with that. 2, start talking passively aggressively towards you. Well, I'll more likely become very aggressive. I won't be passive. I'll be actively aggressive towards you. If I get passive aggressive, it's because I'm playing with you, and I'll be sarcastic. But passive aggressive isn't really my thing, unless, again, I'm just being overtly like sarcastic. But you know, passive aggressive is like, oh yeah, that shirt looks great on you. That's passive aggressive, and that's not what I do, unless I'm just joking around. 3, block you and would call you racist or something. Well, yeah, if you are racist, I will block you. 4, cry about grammatical errors. Why is that a problem? I mean, you are arguing with me. You think that I'm wrong. I'm presenting myself here as a teacher. I bring historical and philosophical and spiritual reasoning. I provide evidence and proof. If I don't, I will say, to the best of my knowledge, or this is my opinion, or I heard somebody say somewhere. I'm very clear about where things come from. And what is wrong with pointing out your inability to write correctly? Why is that a problem? You have an opinion and you want to state that opinion. You want to prove your point. You know, it serves you to, and it serves everybody else to have a fully functional sentence, to be able to use punctuation correctly, to know vocabulary and grammar. That is just something that any good teacher should be able to do. So, yep, I'm going to do that, especially when you're trying to tell me how you know more than I do. And you don't have even the slightest, education to be able to write correctly. Now, I pointed this out to Archives, and he said it's because he types really fast. I didn't respond, but my response at that time in my head was, well, so why don't you slow down? That's part of the problem. You don't think. You're just so impulsive. Now, again, all you're going to remember, Dark Lilith, is I just said you were impulsive. You're not going to remember that I told you over and over again that I think that you're meant to be a spiritual teacher and that you're wasting your time arguing with me. You should be making your own videos, writing your own books, doing your own research, helping others, giving them the truth instead of wasting your time arguing with me. You're not going to remember that I told you I think you're destined to be a spiritual teacher. You're going to want to argue with me about the fact that I say you look idiotic. I didn't say you are idiotic. You look idiotic when you can't spell and punctuate correctly. 5, ignore your comment. Yeah, and I ignore, I ignore so many comments because I get a ton of comments. Yeah, I ignore most comments. Get over it. 6, can't tell you because, quote, I will be breaking rules, unquote. I don't know whenever I've done that. Maybe this person asked me something. It's possible I said something like that, but more than likely I didn't. I have broken rules and shared things. In fact, the videos and the mantras that I have taught, a lot of the Qigong I've taught, I've been breaking the rules. And so, again, that's something I'm proud of. I'm proud of that. And then whoever this wrote says, laugh out loud. Just watch and tell me what he did. I can read him like a newspaper. Well, apparently you didn't read me well enough to prevent me from blocking you. So, and 7, ask who you are to ask or show your proof first. That, when somebody gets a real attitude and gets a burr up their ass and demands that I stop, especially on the live Q&A, demands that I stop and put all of my attention on them, and I'm going to say, who the hell do you think you are? I mean, who are you? And I will say, show your proof first. What's wrong with that? And then the bottom line, he won't provide any proof. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so Archives of Lilith. Yeah. Why don't you have videos? Why aren't you referring to your videos? Anyway, so I say to him, I have a solution to your problem. Why don't you just unsubscribe? I'm not worth your time. To which he says, you don't understand. I care about the people you're teaching. It's not about you, and it never has been. And then he goes on to say, ThunderWizard.com, you can't take what you dish out on other people. Oh, that might be true. I'm intelligent enough to keep up with you, and you don't like that. I, my mom always said, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. I'm aware enough to point out the things that you do that are manipulative, and you don't like that. I possess the power to do to you the exact same thing that you do to anyone else and everyone else who speaks against you, and you don't like that. I'm not attacking you, and I never have been. No, you attacked me. You told me you hated me 3 times. You just called me manipulative. You called me a liar. You say that I'm choosy. You've attacked me. So come on. That's bullshit. You and I both know that's bullshit. Not that I give a shit. I'm not attacking you, and I never have been, and you don't make me emotional like you think you do, and you never have. I comment on your post for the other people who are willing to read my comments on your post, because you've made it obvious that you don't care about growing, you don't care about learning, and you only care about being perceived to be something greater than you are, which makes you lesser than you've ever been. You could be a great teacher if you would just examine yourself, but you don't. All right, so I have to stop here because the irony is not lost on me. I'd be interested to know if it's lost on anybody else. So Archives of Lilith, this is the epitome of projection. And I'm being straight and honest with you here. Look at my face. I'm not joking around and giving you a hard time. I'm going to say it to you again. I think you are meant to be a teacher. You should go teach. You should actually put the time and effort to do the research of the things that you talk about. Go talk to this Masonic Grandmaster and go look at those texts again. Not because I could care less. I'm not going to believe it if you came back to me. But for your own sake, and then go on your channel and talk about them. There's people out there that want to hear that. They would follow you if you started saying that you were a Masonic Initiate and that you had access to hidden documents about Jesus, the Masonic practitioner. Seriously, man, you know, put the effort that you deserve. You deserve to put the effort into researching what you teach and be able to teach it. And yeah, be able to do things like, speak well, be able to write clearly, be able to be something that people can respect and want to follow. I'm going to say it again. I think you have the destiny to be a teacher. Whether or not it's going to be in this lifetime is up to you. Now, having said that, I'm going to read this back to you, and remember that everything is projection. And I've said, and I'm very clear, all of your issues with me are all projection. I'm not that guy. I don't know who you in your past, who your dad, your stepdad, your foster dad, whoever the male was in your life that really damaged you and shamed you. I'm not that guy. And so arguing with me and tilting at windmills, if you don't know what that means, go look that up. Tilting at windmills, at me, doesn't serve the people that you need to be helping. Go help them. And in all seriousness, if you start teaching on your channel, I'll start giving people, the link to your YouTube channel. Okay? So now, having said that, I do think that you are projecting. Now, hear what you said to me, because and I'm willing to have everybody else chime in and see if they agree or disagree. I'm open. I really don't care what anybody thinks, but it's interesting. All right, so I'm not attacking you, and I never have been, and you don't make me emotional like you think you do, and you never have. I comment on your post for the other people who are willing to read my comments on your post, because you've made it obvious. This is the part that I want to just sit with it, because I think it's a projection. Again, bear in mind, I believe that you have been damaged. I believe that you have been harmed. I believe that other people have harmed you. And I believe that you have some unresolved stuff going on. And what has happened is that you've taken on that shame. And so the things about you that are really wonderful and are really good, like your desire to help, your desire to protect people, your desire to teach, your desire to heal. Whoever it was that made you feel shameful about that, what you do is you see me being what you want to be. Because between the two of us, we have to admit that I've got the channel, and I've got the videos, and I've got the followers, and I've got the books. You don't. So if that's true and you want to be me, but you have shame about it, the first thing you're going to do is start attacking me. That's why you're focused on me. I don't know if you're obsessed with other teachers and following them and attacking them, but at the very least, it means that you think that I am a successful teacher, or you wouldn't attack me because I'm what you want to be. And I'm encouraging you to be that. With that in mind, let's take a look at your projection here. You've made it obvious that you don't care about growing. You don't care about learning. You only care about being perceived to be something greater than you are, which makes you lesser than you've ever been. You could be a great teacher if you would examine yourself, but you don't. I would say that applies to you because, when you make these big statements about, Jesus existing and hidden documents, but when you're asked to prove it, you don't have any proof. You could get proof if you put the effort into it, but you don't. You talk about being psychic and you talk about other things. I could make the argument that you want people to think you're greater than, not that you are, but you want people to see you as being greater than you think you are. I believe you struggle with feeling, like less than successful. And again, that's a shame because somebody shamed you into that. I'm not the one doing that. I've been telling you all along you deserve to be a teacher, but it doesn't mean that just because you say something, I have to agree with you. You know what I mean? So I wish you all the best. I may block you, but if only you become a giant pain in my ass. But before I do that, I want the people who I have manipulated and brainwashed, I want them to speak up. And if they say that you should be allowed to step in and defend them from me, I still may block you anyway, but I will listen. I'm interested to hear what they have to say. All right. So I think we've beat that horse to death. So our Archives of Lilith lastly says, you're only going to block me because I'm so right. What I say affects you in your chest. You don't like the feeling. I can sense more than you understand, my friend. Well, so apparently he's got a psychic vibe on me. Well, if you've got a psychic vibe on me, then I'm not feeling anything in my chest. Again, I think that's projection. It makes me wonder what you're feeling in your chest and what's going on there. Anyway, listen, the last thing, and I know you're going to get pissed off about this, but seriously, dude, I know you've been through some trauma, and I know that you've said that you take chemicals in order to deal with PTSD, but it's ultimately not helping you. I would seriously suggest doing everything that I have done. I would suggest that you seek out a therapist. I would suggest that you look into 12-step groups and that you start doing more meditation, like stop smoking weed and doing everything like that. That's not helping you. It's just pushing all of your rage and anger down. And it's feeding to your unconscious projection. So with that, we'll see. I don't think I've tried to be nice to you. I've tried to sort of give you space and allow you to be and you've just been so abusive and so obnoxious and so it just I'm probably gonna stop responding to your comments. I might just start deleting your comments until I decide to do something else. So let's see. Were there other things that people said that I want to deal with here? Yeah, ThunderWizard. I forget. I can't read this particular runic script here. Looks like he's using more than just the Elder Futhark. But ThunderWizard says, out of curiosity, have you ever attempted to work with the energies of angels or saints? You've said the reason you believe in the Norse gods is due to their energies and interactions. I don't remember saying that or what I meant by that, or why I believe in them. Anyway, why not apply the same objective methodology to the former? Well, because angels Angels are not gods, they're not ancestors. Angels in the Abrahamic tradition are beings of light that have no will of their own. And they simply do, they're just completely controlled by Jehovah. And that's why they're seen as being so spiritual, because again, the underlying assumption of Abrahamic religion is that you do not have the right to be yourself, that you do not have divinity within yourself, and that your will and your desires are evil. So angels have no will of their own. They are complete slaves to Jehovah. Saints would be human beings that spent their whole life worshiping Jesus. Why would I want to work with either of those? First off, I'm not even sure that angels exist. I think, angels are what we would call elves, which are the ascended masters, the bodhisattvas, and Abrahamic mythology hijacked it and used it, for their purposes. So if I want to work with the energies of angels, I'll work with the elves, with the bodhisattvas. Saints is just the Christian equivalent of the ancestors. That's it. They're worshiping dead human beings who they see as saints. And so that's, again, you can't worship ancestors in Christianity. So Catholicism took that need that people had to worship the ancestors and turned it into saints. But again, why would I want somebody who worships Jesus? I think Jesus is absolutely toxic. So that's the reason why. So again, watch more of my videos about Abrahamic religion and why it's so destructive. I have no interest. That's why I don't like modern Western magic, because they use those archetypes, angels, the archangel so and so and all that. I just don't want. I don't want anything to do with the Abrahamic stuff. It's new, and it's new stuff that's come in, and it has muddled our connection to our ancestral shamanic past. So that's a long answer to that could have been stated more quickly. Let's see. Let's see what else. What did I look at here? So we can talk. Somebody asks, I have a question about deities that are energetic projections. You've mentioned that Merlin and Jesus are energetic projections of humans. I'm curious about the nature of their consciousness. Are they truly alive and aware, or are they simply programs that have been built by our minds and thus their responses are essentially pre-recorded? That's a good question. I don't know that I have the answer to that question, but I can give my opinions on it. This came to my mind. This had to have been 20-something years ago. And I was having a private lesson with somebody, and I was teaching them the mystical martial arts that I've learned. And so we were working with energy and posture and all that. And I don't know where it came from, but he started talking about Merlin. And he had said that he had dropped acid. And he was in the mountains of Wales, and he had dropped acid, which again, I don't recommend. And that he saw Merlin. So if you know anything, Merlin has a really strong association with Wales, because Wales has adopted the Arthurian romance for very obvious reasons. The Arthurian romance novels, which by the way are pure fiction, there's nothing historical about Merlin and King Arthur. None of that happened. That was all written in the Middle Ages by French people, and it was just fun fiction. But a lot of people in Britain and in Wales have taken this to represent the original, sort of indigenous British spiritual identity. So there's a lot of people in Wales that believe in King Arthur and believe in Merlin and probably want to work with Merlin. I'm sure there's been no shortage of people over the hundreds of years who have done rituals to talk to Merlin and all of that. So this guy said that when he was tripping and he was in Wales, that Merlin appeared to him, and that Merlin said to him, "Oh, I don't really exist. I am merely just the projection of other people's, passion and faith. That other people believe in me, and because they believe in me so strongly, that they have the focus of all of their projections of me have manifested as I am, but I'm not real. So that I've never forgotten that, and I believe that that's accurate. I believe that he did have that experience, and I would say that that's an accurate experience of, this is the difference between deities that exist in the fabric of space-time and deities that we create out of our own fantasies or fears, those kinds of things. We create, a lot of, like, poltergeists are exactly that. Poltergeists are not demons. Poltergeists are somebody's unconscious, unresolved rage that has become so intense that it becomes projected out into their world. I'll give you an example of one. This is a really good example. There was a family, a couple, and a daughter. I believe it was a daughter. I could be wrong about the daughter. That's not the important part. Anyway, there was a couple. I think they were a family. And there was this ghost that was harassing them, and it was the ghost of a little girl. And the ghost would do things like attack the father, like, physically attack the father. The father would wake up and, with, like stab wounds and all kinds of bruises and horrible things. And this ghost would start fires and move things around and throw things around. But the interesting thing is, the only time that this ghost would appear would be when the wife was sleeping. And so they finally figured it out, that it was the wife that was projecting this, that it wasn't a ghost, because they moved. They'd like move to another house, the ghost would follow them. They'd move to another house, the ghost would follow them. And, they'd hear, like, a little girl laughing and giggling and slamming doors and, all kinds of stuff like that. And so what had happened is that the wife, when she was a little girl, had been, I believe, sexually abused or physically abused. Something really awful had happened to her when she was, like, I think 7 years old. And she had suppressed the memory of that. And it wasn't until she had gone into some kind of hypnosis or something like that that she remembered it. And if I remember the story correctly, which might not be true, then it resolved itself when she became conscious and relived the memories. So it was her 7-year-old self, in her lower self, that was angry, and was angry at the father. So that's why the husband would get attacked, because the husband was like the father, and there was a little girl. I believe they had a little girl. So the ghost little girl was protecting the other little girl. So you can see the projection that's going on there. So that's in the same vein. I mean, I think Merlin and Jesus are projections. They're not real. I don't know what they could or couldn't do, but so for me, that's why, again, what's the difference? The difference is that Merlin never existed. Merlin only represents your beliefs about your potential as a magician. Jesus represents your victim mentality of being the good, love and light person who just takes it on the cheek and doesn't acknowledge the rage and the psychopathic, murderous nature of, the God that they worship. So that's why I wouldn't worship Jesus. I believe that Jesus appears to people. Jesus appeared to me. I saw Jesus, the clouds turned into Jesus. And that was hard for me to deal with. Afterwards, years later, when I walked away from Christianity, I went, but what was that? Well, that was me. That was my own projection. I had projected it out there, probably, teamed up with other people's Jesus projection, and there was a lot of Jesus power floating around, and that projection showed up for me. So, are they truly alive and aware? That's a question that we could ponder forever. What does that mean? Are they simply programs that have been built by our minds? It could both be true. They could be programs built by our minds, and they could be alive and aware. No clue. I mean, that's a really deep question. Anyway, so I thought that was an interesting question. That was, let's see, what other things? Let's see if there's anything else here that I might to want to talk about. Monsters, myth, and mystery. I appreciate this guy on my channel. I think he's been a supportive viewer. He says, I don't think I would call Jesus a pacifist. He did take a whip into the temple and attack the money changers. He also said, don't think I have come to bring peace. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. Also, I believe you're misinformed. In 2006, a courtyard house and cisterns were discovered under a convent in Nazareth dating to 29 BC. All right, so a bunch of things in there. Jesus is absolutely presented as a pacifist. No two ways about it. Now, if you want to take one or two passages and use it to say he wasn't a pacifist, I would disagree with you on that. We have got to think about what do those passages mean? Why are they there? Jesus is without a doubt a pacifist. He makes it very clear. He says, pay your taxes. Do not fight against the government. When soldiers come to take him away, and Peter, takes out a sword and slices off the ear of the soldier. Jesus picks up the ear and heals it and says something, I don't remember what, we don't do that, something like that. He says, how many times should you forgive? 70 times 7. If they strike you on one cheek, give them the other. He's very clearly a pacifist. No two ways about it. Now, taking a whip into the temple and attacking the money changers. What was that all about? That to me, again, first off, did Jesus exist? If he existed, then we can start having these discussions about whether or not he was a pacifist. I think the proof is very clear that he didn't exist. Forget about my obsession with Nazareth never having been existed until after his death. Forget about that. Even if you get rid of that, even if I give you that and say Nazareth existed then, it still doesn't at all magically prove Jesus existed at all. I mean, the other evidence, archaeological and written historical records are just very clear. That guy didn't exist, clearly. So we can't start talking about whether he was or wasn't. We first need to answer the question, did he exist? Now, you come back and you say that I'm misinformed because in 2006, a courtyard house and cisterns were discovered under a convent in Nazareth dating to 29 BCE. So, does that mean that it was Nazareth? Let me take a look at this. I'm gonna click on your link here. By the way, I don't like links. I don't like it when people put links into my channel, and the reason for that is I want people to stay on my channel, and so it doesn't serve me to have people putting outside links. I know you're not trying to do that, but I'm trying to. This is my business, and I want people to stay on my channel. I don't want them going other places. But let me click on this link and see what it is. Let's see, when was this? March 1st, 2015. I've seen this before. Live science. So I'm trying to find out what is who are the people who are doing this? Do they have an agenda? Are they scientists? Are they Christians? Are they pseudo-Christian scientists? I don't know this thing. Archaeologists working in Nazareth, Jesus' hometown. Again, this assumes that Jesus existed. So archaeologists are working in Nazareth. So we know that Nazareth exists, and it has existed since 150 AD or something like that. Have identified a house dating to the 1st century that was regarded as the place where Jesus was brought up by Mary and Joseph. Again, so they're looking for, I don't know. It sounds suspicious to me. It sounds like it's coming from somebody who has an agenda to prove or disprove something. house is partly made of mortar and stone walls and was cut into a rocky hillside. It was first uncovered in the 1880s by nuns the convent, but it wasn't until 2006 that archaeologists dated the house to the 1st century and identified it as a place where people who lived centuries after Jesus' time believed Jesus was brought up. That doesn't mean anything. Just because people thought that's it. Again, there's nothing in here that seems to prove anything. Was this the house where Jesus grew up? It is impossible to say on archaeological grounds. But so this isn't really any kind of proof that Nazareth existed. And this article isn't even trying to address that. It's just saying that in modern day Nazareth, there's this house that may be dated all the way back to then. It doesn't prove that Nazareth existed as a town. It doesn't prove anything. So it's not nothing, but it doesn't, that doesn't disprove anything that I said. You'd have to go a lot deeper than that. I mean, I could come back with other links proving and disproving that. There's no doubt in my mind that there's probably some controversy about that belief, but that article starts with an assumption that Jesus existed and Nazareth existed. That's the problem with it. It's not they're trying to date the house, but even so, just because a house was there doesn't mean anything either. There could have been a house there. Big deal. It doesn't mean that Nazareth existed. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just saying that's not enough to disprove or prove anything. Let's see, anything else that I want to address? Yeah, another guy came on here who's clearly a flat earther who just attacked me personally, and I finally just blocked him. So he wasn't saying anything. And I have to correct something. I had said it was Vajrasattva that first brought tantric mantra and ritual to Tibet, and it was not Vajrasattva, that is a deity. It was somebody called Padmasambhava. That was the guy who first brought all of the tantric rituals and mantras and deities, by the way, to Tibet. And all of those mantras and rituals and deities are all originally from tantric Hinduism. For instance, like the Tara mantra, Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Swaha. They actually, this is one of the things that kind of annoys me about Tibetan Buddhism. They pronounce it wrong because they have a strong accent. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. It's not Soha, it's Swaha. And all of the other gods that they worship are not Buddhist gods. They are actually Vedic Hindu gods, and this Vedic Hindu tantric master took them, and instead of calling it Shiva, for example, I'm trying to remember the names of some of them. I can't remember the names of them offhand, but some of the really important, like the healing Buddha and other things like that, those are actually names of Hindu deities. Like Tara is a Hindu deity. It's the wife of it's a Jupiter goddess, and that mantra is her base mantra. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Swaha, and that was then ascribed to to Buddhism. I'm not super against that. I just like pointing that out. And Buddhists, being good Vishnu worshippers, and all Vishnu worshippers do this, including Christians and Krishna worshippers, all sort of hijack everything and say, oh no, that's Krishna. Oh no, that's Jesus. Jesus is everything. Krishna is everything. Oh no, that's Buddha. No, that's an aspect of Buddha. Well, no, that's actually Shiva. It's a Shiva essence. But Shiva's fine with it. It doesn't bother him. I'm quite certain of that. He's okay with it. He likes Buddhism. He loves Vishnu, so he'll let Vishnu appropriate that if he needs to. Anything else? No, there was another person just giving me a hard time, so I had to block them too, because I block people when they become abusive or just outright obnoxious. If they've got something to say, a dissenting voice, I don't necessarily do that. Here's something I want to address here. Imashta Lau says, what did he say? I don't know. He didn't say anything. It was Jason Guerrero says, and I don't know where this came from. I don't remember talking about Loki in this video, but his Dark Energy Gununga Gap video, he says, Loki pays off the dwarves who craft the tools of the gods that the gods will come to earn in their trials. But Loki uses Odin's credit card. Odin chuckles. That's a clever thing to say, but it starts with an assumption about Loki that I don't agree with. And Loki's paying off the dwarves to craft the tools of the gods. You know, the thing is that Loki actually is, what I get from that, you may not mean this, but what I get from that is that, you know, it sort of, to me, it diminishes Loki's knowledge and awareness. I see Loki as choosing to do these things. I don't see him as like this, you know, this sneaky person that has to cut corners to get what he wants. I think that he chooses to do these things because he is the agent of evolution. And Loki using Odin's credit card. You know, and then Imashta Lau responds and he says, yes, it's like this, a tenant who does not pay rent and uses credit card. See, Loki actually is all about paying your debts more than anybody else. Loki, everything, all of the lessons and all of the tricks and all of the deceptions of Loki are because you are not paying your debt. You're not acknowledging and appreciating the soul. Everything about what he does is to get you to acknowledge the power of your own soul. So me giving Archives of Lilith Dark Love a hard time and mocking him and all that, that's really because I actually care about the guy and I want him to wake up and I want him to get out of his narcissistic childhood rants, you know, and stop feeling so sorry for himself and blaming everybody and being angry and taking all of his self-directed shame about his own knowledge and his own mastery and, you know, projecting it on other people. I mock him and I provoke him because I want him to stop, you know, diminishing himself. And this is the same thing that Loki does. Now, I'm not saying I'm Loki by any means. I don't know that I have, I'm not trying to compare myself to the expertise and the mastery that Loki shows in what he does. But these comments sort of bring out this idea that Loki is sort of out of control. He's this out of control, you know, gambler that just, you know, and he does all that. And despite his, you know, all of that, you know, it works out for everybody's benefit. And I don't see that. I see him as being very, very conscious. I see him as being even more conscious than Odin in some ways. Kind of hard to say that, but anyway, you understand where I'm going. I think that's it. But again, what I would like to see from all of you guys is I want your comments. I want you to vote on whether or not Archives of Lilith Dark Love should be allowed to continue to protect you from me. And have I truly brainwashed you? Are you all a bunch of brainwashed sheep? And am I forcing you to stay on my channel and watch my videos? Is he right? Or should he just mind his own business? Should he go and write his own books and make his own videos? Should he stop attacking and projecting onto me his own fear about being a teacher and standing up and be a teacher? And should he just go be that teacher? Should he go and become that Masonic Initiate and learn all of the secrets that the Masons have about Jesus? And should he go and teach that? Or should he just stay here and take responsibility to protect you? Do you guys need him to protect you or not? That's what I want to hear from you. All right, that's it. This is Ophiuchus, the serpent master, who stands between you and the Oracle of Delphi. And if you can look in my eyes, and if you can see the darkness in your own soul and not be afraid and own it, I will let you pass. Talk to you soon.